Hello, Calvary Watch Care members. This is Sister Means back with you for another episode of Greenleaf Season 2, Episode 11, Changing Season. Interesting episode. So, pretty much there are two things that are going on in this episode. You have the Saint Josephine Cotillon that Zora and Sophia were submitted for but didn't get in. And then you have the meeting of the clergy, the Memphis Metro Churches Coalition of sorts, and they're having a meeting at Triumph. Basie is the host pastor this month. It's a monthly meeting where the clergy in the area get together and talk about things that are impacting their community and how best to serve the community, through the church. So, Grace was encouraging Bishop to go, even though it was at Basie's church, Triumph. They get there and they run into Jacob. And there's some tension between father and son, of course, because Jacob is continuing to do his street ministry on the same corner right across the street from Calvary. But Jacob is one of the keynote speakers during this meeting, and he talks about the separation between Basie and himself and how he is going to have the real church of Memphis, the church with no walls, not built by man's hands, dedicated to serving the homeless as well as the helpless, and preaching God's word outside the temple. But during his speech, he must have had an impression on Bishop, because at the end of the actual meeting, Bishop invites him to come to dinner that night with Carissa and the kids. So that was interesting. But what happens is that one of the preachers talk about a teen that he's asking prayers for, and says, and he's looking for help, he's looking for ideas, he's looking for something, because this teen attempted to commit suicide. And the reason why the teen attempted to commit suicide was because of him being homosexual. And he had everyone's attention up until he said homosexual. And then everybody looked so disconcerted. And it was really sad, but so true when it comes to the issue of homosexuality in the church. Because regardless to what you believe God's word says about it, the person is still human. And before you damn them to hell, teach them about heaven, teach them about God's love first. And then allow the Holy Spirit to have His work in their lives. Pray for the individuals. Stop sitting up here casting these people into hell. But the homophobia in the church is very real. And this episode deals with that. And Grace is moved. She's inquiring about, the health of the boy and what's going on. And she's all aboard when Basie gets up and says, well, people, we have to do something. And he really isn't sincere about it. He's just speaking to hear himself speak pretty much, because he's not going to lead the path to doing something for this young boy. And he knows most of the people, most of the clergy in attendance, they're not really trying to hear what he has to say. But, you know, it's his church and he's got the floor at the time. But, you know, Grace is inquiring, well, you know, what do we do? Or how's the boy doing? And, you know, he's like, you know, I'm so glad that you asked those questions. She winds up meeting with him after this coalition meeting to see if she can team up with him and effectively do something to address the homophobia issue in the church. And he throws everything back on her. I believe you, Pastor, have the plan. You know, we're going to follow your lead. And, you know, anything so he doesn't have to be upfront because he didn't plan on doing anything in the first place. But I digress. So that's something that Bishop winds up saying during the dinner scene, that Grace is falling under the Basie spell because, you know, he's the charismatic, smooth talking preacher. And it makes me wonder at times, it's like, I know if she's a preacher, she has to have some type of discernment, but she's not putting it to use. And she's still disconnected. I would love to see her really get connected to her relationship in God, but I guess we have to wait for that to come. Nevertheless, things get heated around the dinner table. So before I get to the dinner scene, let me go back to the cotillion. So at breakfast, the first scene starts off with breakfast. Lady Mae and Grace are sitting at the table, and this is before Grace and Bishop leave to go to the meeting. Lady Mae is reading the article that Darius put out, because I told you that that man was going to print that. He had the story, he was going to print it. There was nothing that was going to keep him from printing the story. But Lady Mae actually had favorable remarks towards it. She didn't like Robert being dragged through the mud, but she said if it would keep people from asking questions, then she was all for it. And so that was surprising. And Sophia runs in all upset, feeling like she disappointed the Greenleafs because she didn't get into the St. Josephine debutante ball. And neither her or Zora did. And of course, Lady Mae is appalled. And she's like, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. I'm sure there was some type of mistake. And, you know, Grace is over there blaming herself because here's a story, big as day, about her killing Mac in the paper. So she, of course, feels it's all her fault. So, of course, Lady Mae is on a quest to investigate. So she has Marisol get her gun from an area of the house. It's a gun that was on the property when it came. It's an old antique, so to speak. And she's taking it to one of the head facilitators for this ball, Jacinta. And Jacinta is really admiring the gun, and she's talking to Jacinta, and she said, oh, look. And she points out, there's Charity's first debutante ball. You know, it was so beautiful, and this, that, and other. You know, just to broach the subject of the ball. She's like, yeah, I was surprised that you didn't submit Sophia and Zora. And she said, what are you talking about? I did submit applications. And she said, well, we never received them. You know, they must have got lost or something. And she said, what are you talking about? Who's head of the applications this year? No other than Basie Skanks. So, you know, Lady Mae was like a dog with a bone. And she went to see Tasha to call her on her misdoings. Tasha's claiming no wrongdoing. She's like, look, I wouldn't have done anything like that. That's not me. That's not how I conduct myself. And, you know, of course, you know, Lady Mae is not believing her because of, you know, the issues that Basie has with their family. She said, yeah, he has issues with your family, but it's for good reason. And yeah, the bottom line is that I still wouldn't have done anything like that, despite what his issues may be with your family. And so Lady May's like, I have those emails, I'm gonna get them, and then you're gonna have to seriously eat crow. She said, well, I hope you do find them. And Tasha kicked her out the office because she was so rude. Now, before Lady May actually gets kicked out the office, there's this painting that's like an exact duplicate for the one she has in part of her house. And she asked her, where did you get that painting? She said, well, I actually saw you being highlighted featured in the magazine, and I felt any self-respecting woman would want something as beautiful as that, so I went and did it for my house, and so that at the end of the episode, that's where the title comes in with the change of season, because Lady May tells Maricel to get rid of all the paintings by that artist out of the house and send it to the gallery. It's time. It's time for a change in season. So that's where that comes from. Anyway, Lady May finds the emails. She goes back to Tasha, but then she learns that she actually sent it to the wrong email. She doesn't apologize to Tasha. But she said, well, I'll just go to Jacinta and straighten this all out. She said, now she's really upset with you because I told her how you came into my office all loud and wrong, feeling yourself, talking to me the way you did, disrespecting me. So she's really upset. Now this is important because what happens is Lady May goes to visit Bishop in his office, and guess who is sitting on his side of the desk, up on top of the desk, feeding him cake? No other but Rochelle Cross. So Lady May comes in. Of course, she's not pleased at what she sees. And, Lady May, or Bishop rather, is inviting her to taste this pineapple upside down cake. It's so good it makes you want to slap your mother. How about it makes you want to slap your husband for being foolish enough to have some woman wearing a short dress sitting up on your desk feeding you cake who's not your wife? Okay. So, I was kind of feeling Lady May on that, but she was, even though she, threw a lot of shade and it was tension between her and Bishop for a moment, she was coming in to tell him about the problem that she had with the applications. And Rochelle said, well, Jacinta, I know her. I can, she's definitely a friend of mine. You need some help with something? And she said, no, darling, you've done enough. And she walks out. But later on, she has a change of heart, because when she actually goes in the Bishop's office, it's before she actually goes back to Tasha to call her to task and find out that she sent the wrong email. Then she comes back and tells Bishop, I want you to invite Rochelle to dinner. Okay, so now we have Rochelle, Grace, Jacob and Carissa, Lady May and Bishop. That's going to be at dinner, right? So the dinner scene is where things get really interesting. So you have them talking about, well, Bishop's talking about how Grace fell under the spell of Basie. They were talking about the homophobia in the church, and of course Carissa's outspoken and said, well, Kevin didn't ask for help. Nobody was talking about Kevin, but here she was bringing Kevin up. Now Charity was not at the dinner table, and thank goodness. That was just embarrassing. And then Jacob is like, look, can we just cool it? We got company. Like, conduct yourselves properly. And Rochelle is just eating it up like, oh, she getting the 411. She was sitting back there just chewing on her food, like she was watching a good movie. And she's like, oh no, I miss family. Y'all just go ahead and act like I ain't here. And she was eating it up, paying attention to everything that people were saying. And there's this back and forth exchange between Carissa and Grace. And Carissa shuts Grace down by saying, you know, you caused a lot of problems. Look at what you've done with Sophia and Zora. Talking about the cotillion because they can't attend. And then Grace apologizes to everybody. She said, you know, Jacob, you're right. This is not the time for us to have this discussion. Mama, I'm sorry. And she gets very humble because she's embarrassed. Now, what was sad is that Lady May already knew that it was her error. Had nothing to do with Grace. She could have shut Carissa down, said, actually, it had nothing to do with Grace. I made the error. But she didn't. Now, after dinner, she pulls Rochelle to the side. She apologizes for her behavior earlier. And, you know, she tries to sweet talk her and seeing how much pull Rochelle actually has. So the next day, the girls find out that they get in. And, you know, Sophia's all happy and that they're going to get to attend the ball. Meantime, in between time, what I'm forgetting to say is talk about how Zora, little fresh thing, then set up here and had sex with Isaiah. Now, she tried everything to get out of it, but, you know, of course, babies. We talked about it, you know, don't you want to do it? And, you know, then she has the conversation with Sophia. Sophia was one upset that she was even talking to Isaiah, but then she found out you had sex, and she's all loud, and she's like, shh, you know, and she said, and then Sophia got curious, well, how was it? And, you know, Zora's saying, well, it was weird, different, you know, she was obviously not ready for it, and of course, you know, she doesn't know what to feel about it, because she didn't know what to expect, she didn't know what it's about. And even though they were using protection, I have a feeling, just based on the previews that we've been seeing for the future episodes, that she's going to wind up being pregnant. It's either she's going to wind up being pregnant, have an STD, combination of both. Also, I'm just wondering how badly things are going to go between her and Isaiah. Is that going to cause her to, you know, dip into the drugs even more? What's going to happen? Because she's been sniffing this Ritalin. I don't know if she's ever stopped. I don't know if she continues to do so. But I've been waiting for them to really highlight her drug addiction. So we're going to see what happens with Miss Zora. But yes, she shared this, and then Sophia winds up calling Roberto and asking him if he had ever had sex, and he said no. Have you? And she's like, no. And he's like, why did you ask? And, you know, they don't really get into the conversation with us at that time. But the last little cute thing that happens is that, you know, let me talk about Charity, because I'm totally, you know, it's so bad. I am so sorry. I had to apologize to Deborah Joy Lyons. They make her part seem so insignificant, but it's memorable for this. She's struggling to write a song for a group. She's supposed to be writing for the Clark sisters, and Wanda, she's running things by Wanda, and she said, well, what would Carlton do? This is what Wanda says to her. And, you know, she hasn't talked to Carlton. So she actually calls Carlton. Carlton winds up coming to Calvary. And so he's like, you know, it's kind of nice to walk through the walls again and see Wanda and see this one and that one. And she said, well, I didn't think you would be, you didn't sound like that over the phone. And he said, well, there's a reason why. I didn't like the way you left me in the lurch when all this went down and they terminated my contract. And then you just went MIA. And she's like, oh, well, I got really busy. And you get really busy, and she explained she was busy getting divorced and the issue with Kevin being gay. And she just broke down the baby, and they had this very touching moment because, she said, nobody acknowledges, my baby girl. And he said Eden Brooks, so he knew by name. And she said, you still remember her name? And he said, of course. And so he's there saying, look, I'll carry some of this weight for you for a while. So, you can rest a little bit. I'm here for you. And so he was still being a true friend despite the fact how she pushed him to the side. The other interesting thing is that, after connecting with Carlton, she finally got the song together. She's playing it for Jabari. And, she was really, he was feeling what she had produced. And he sat down beside her. And at the end, she just turned off and kissed him straight dead in the mouth. Now, I've been checking out the Greenleaf discussion room, and many people are saying that they don't think Jabari is straight. They think that he might also be gay. So let me hear your opinion. Give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs down, vote. Share your thoughts on this episode. I thought it was cute, but I think, we're heading down a path with Zora that is going to change things big time. Anyway, I shall be back with you probably in a couple of days because we have Greenleaf coming on later on today. I'm sorry getting these reviews out so late. It's just been challenging for me getting accustomed to a different schedule, but I will be back with you with another video. Alright, until next time, bye.